Hey, dude. Review me, man. I've waited a long time for this.
Yes, I know you've waited a long time for this. Just bear with me, okay? I've got other things to do.
You've had me longer than that Super Nintendo. And he's on the TV.
That would be because the Super Nintendo is a truly retro system. Even though you're kind of retro, you're not retro yet, you know? So, hold the damn horses. I'm not doing this with you right now, okay? It's not happening. Kaput, done, zeroed, done.
Dude, I will bite you. And your family.
You do realise that threats will predictably get you nowhere, right? Just wondering about that, you know? Especially threatening my family. Where did that come from?
I don't know, man. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Just review me, okay? Please. I promise I will not threaten you again. Just review me, please.
Okay, I'll review you. Come here, come on. Let's get you up. Just unplug you. Can't review you without putting on a desk. Because let's face it, that'd be a fun thing to do. Now, let's pop in there. But, come on, we'll go for a review, won't we? We'll go for a review. But, not before I put you in the bin.
Dude, no! No! Don't do it! Man! No!
Hey guys, welcome to Gaming and Console Tech. I am Ash, back again with another video, and I didn't chuck him. He's still here. He's still sat here. Beautiful looking PS1. He is, I promise you, he's real. But yeah, he is here, and this won a poll on Twitter, which was between this and the PS1 versus Wii, which is going to be awesome. This won, so this is going to be my next review. So without further ado, let's get going. So guys, here is the PlayStation 1. Now, there was 3 versions of this console. One of them being a smaller version of this, but there was also a version of this with different ports at the back, which I'll explain now. Now, on this one, I believe this is the first one. I could be wrong, or it might be the second one, I don't know. It's one of those two, first and second. You've got this serial port, which was actually removed from one of them. And then also you had basically red, yellow and white plugs on the back for composite video. Now, for some reason they were removed off this. Not a clue why. Could have something to do with, I don't know, modern tech, I don't know, something on those lines. But then you've also on this one got basically your serial I/O, your AV multi-out, which is RGB compatible as well as composite compatible, and then also your power as well. So pretty self-explanatory really. And then when you turn it around, let's do that, you have your memory card ports and your controller ports on the front. Now, all controller ports are different. These are specific to Sony. However, some controllers you could use with the PlayStation 2 for PS1 games as well, which was quite handy. Not sure what games would support it, but you'd probably have to look into that. Now, on the front, it's a fairly retro looking console. To be perfectly honest, it is. Now, the round disc on the front, obviously that's your disc drive, reset, power, and then also your eject button. Now, inside there is my Final Fantasy. Let's remove that. There we go. Inside it is pretty much self-explanatory with your laser, your disc spinning device and whatever else. But this particular one I like because I don't know if it's just me, but the smaller one, the mini one, is actually a lot louder. I don't know. I could be completely different in that. But, and then on the bottom, pretty self-explanatory how much I got it for back in the day. Well, back in the day, it's not that old, but yeah, you got all your vintage on there as well. And then just to add a bit more retro flair, you actually have the vents as well at the side, and that's on both sides as well. So we'll go like that. And honestly, the console itself is pretty snazzy looking, honestly. For a retro collector, it's awesome. But basically, I've got some memory cards here for that, and then basically just pop them in there like that, just because we can. That one's upside down. That'd be clever, sticking it upside down, why the hell not? And then basically if I go down here, I've also got some controllers for it as well. The weird thing about this is the fact that I haven't actually got a proper analog one for it. I've got this one, that one there, which is the one that came with the original, which I suppose is ironic really. And then you've got that there, and honestly the console itself is pretty impressive. I mean, some of the prime games on it, you have basically Final Fantasy, which obviously I've got there, that's Final Fantasy 9. And then things also like Ridge Racer, you've got Gran Turismo, Tekken, which are there, Tekken, and then also one of my personal favourite series of games, which honestly I love to bits, is the Ridge Racer series, which honestly Ridge Racer was a great one. Gran Turismo was awesome in its own right. I mean, the first one I didn't really prefer, the second one I preferred because it had a lot more content in it, but still, all those games were just immense. And honestly, the controller itself is pretty cool as well. Honestly, I'll do a separate review on that most possibly, but like I said, that is the PS1. I mean, it holds a special place in my heart, not because I had one, but because essentially it was a console that went up against the big boys, went up against Nintendo, and completely blew Nintendo up, which was impressive. That could have been to do with something like the issues they had back in the 90s, where they were meant to have worked with Nintendo, but that in itself is a completely different story that I could probably cover. But let's not go there, that's not even a possibility. But honestly, this is one of those scenarios where a newcomer came and a newcomer kicked ass, honestly. And as much as I am a Sega fan, by all you guys' standards, I am a Sega fan, I promise. But the PlayStation held that special place for going up against Nintendo and kind of replacing what Sega did, because they've carried on to this day to beat Nintendo. And don't get me wrong, I love Nintendo, but they were getting a little bit big for the boots at the time. But, you know, that's all kind of changed, because back in the day, consoles used to have their own styling. For the PlayStation, it was realism. For the N64, it was cartoony graphics that made every game look like essentially a live-action TV show. Banjo-Kazooie, Donkey Kong 64, you know, games like that. Even The Legend of Zelda had that cartoonish style, and it was absolutely awesome to see. But PlayStation came along, and I think they overthrew Nintendo quite a lot. So yeah, it didn't end well for Nintendo in that scenario. They still are going, obviously, with the Switch, but I think PlayStation overly won that battle. But there's a war still going on, so let's see what happens in the future. Anyway, guys, thanks very much for watching, and I shall see you guys again soon in the next video. Thanks very much for watching, and I shall see you guys in the next one. In the meantime, like, comment, subscribe, and happy gaming. Dude, you were serious? Leaving me here without my disc? I'm so lonely.